Something crossed my mind the other day about a subject we tend to look at from a particular perspective, but I started to look at it from another. It's very popular these days to sort of have seemingly meaningful conversations with people about the pitfalls of social media, how we're wasting time, our search for meaning, all the while people still addicted to the conditioning of those things and not willing to discipline themselves away from it, not wanting to go on any kind of diet, so to speak. What struck me was the notion of time and the quality of it that's being wasted in today's kind of transient, mobile phone flicking environment where people are more and more on antidepressants, the search for meaning being more and more of a focus today where people feel lost. And I started to look at, it wasn't just that things were out of control, it's that time itself has become so contracted because we're used to flicking through moments and having a kind of ADD mentality where a moment dominoes onto the next, onto the next, onto the next. And we're sold this notion of
live in the moment, man,
and be in the present, and we just keep recycling present moments. And what struck me was the contraction of time being recycled like Groundhog Day and never getting anywhere with it and never investing your time and protracting it to be able to sort of use it effectively, to get good at any one thing, to invest time in any one area where you've got a large space of time to know yourself, to write a novel, to become a good painter, to become proficient at your calling, your hobbies, your interests, to build on anything. So what I've been thinking about is how we're given so much diversity in our time and we can try 100 things in a day, like candy in a store, but not really sitting in stillness and focusing on that one thing for the majority, if not the totality of that day. And I think something's lost where life was much simpler. Even at a cursory glance, I know it wasn't that simple back in the day where our forefathers had only a handful of things to worry about and could really spend a protracted amount of time in a day being really skillful at one thing. And the loss of time is the loss of space to do something in that time, I feel. Contemplation in enough time, building anything long term is gone. Everything's kind of recycling little sound bites and little moments of nows that go nowhere because you can't actually do anything meaningful in such a small patina of time, becoming good at anything. Knowing who you are and what you stand for. I mean, the important thing of building your own ethics and values requires you to soak in a protracted enough amount of time to build a consistent library within yourself. Friedrich Nietzsche said it quite well when he said the words, "He who cannot obey himself will be commanded." So you can never control yourself because the time is so fleeting that you can't get any footing in enough time to control yourself and know yourself. So you're always commanded by the system, by others, by advertising, by gynocentrism, by anything and everything other than having enough time to sit still and know what you think about things and know where your azimuth on your compass is directed. What substantive value can be had in such a small sliver of time that's continually recycling and dominoing forward? None. Virtually none at all. What does one get for the investment of a marriage that lasts only a couple of years and then you're told just to start again? What does a man get from having a child in only a couple of years and then having it taken from him, what does he learn? What does the child learn? What's imparted? What's mentored? What's passed forward? Nothing. I'll tell you what's given. I'll tell you what's learnt. Loss. And that's about it. What is gained? It seems as though we can only gain where we're given enough time to invest in something that we can build upon and give towards. If everything's taken away before it's even begun, all we're used to is loss and fleeting moments. This new age notion of finding meaning, where we don't have time to find the meaning within. It's really stupid. What do you get from transitory relationships in today's hookup culture? Nothing. Sex and nothing else. You get quantity. You don't get quality. You get low-level variety and not the substantive quantity of enough space to do anything well in, to know yourself well in, to do something well in. The meaningful space of time in which to do anything, gentlemen, I would contend is disappearing. And we're disappearing along with it. The space for your own security. Any wonder most people don't feel secure? Everything's so fleeting from moment to moment. The moments are always ending. Very little is gained because the train keeps leaving the station. We're always ending. In effect, we're always dying. 1,000 deaths until you're buried in your old age. Doesn't make for much of a quality life. I know I'm just pondering this in terms of trying to do worthwhile things in such small spaces of time that keep moving, and you need to keep up with it. I would say flip it around. It might be constructive to let time wait for you. And I can see why it's quite sensible for most guys to avoid any kind of risk in the fleeting moments of today's culture. What the hell are you going to invest in when everything ends before it starts? Where anything worthwhile that a guy wants to invest in with a long vision, he knows that there's not the space of time to invest that in. So the short space of time, it's as much as it is a risk as it is a blatant lie, because you can't do much at all in such a small amount of time. It's almost a waste of time and energy, because the sensible man knows the time needed to do something well. And if there's no time to do it well, then why bother? No, much better to invest in yourself. The one thing you can seemingly and ostensibly control, if you can discipline yourself enough and know that anything that's taken away from that is your own doing and it's not out of your control. And you see it with people today with this addiction to transiency, to playing musical chairs. They feel empowered because they're,
living in the moment, man.
We're effectively resetting our clocks from moment to moment. I mean, what race can you run where as soon as the firing pistol goes off, you call yourself back to the starting line to begin again and you just keep taking 1 or 2 steps forward? You can't actually mature with this impulsive short-term movement in life. It's quite popular and even empowering to the person speaking it to say today,
I get bored easily.
As though that's a virtue. I mean, how is one supposed to feel secure if you're always moving? If where you are is always uncomfortable? You're always, in effect, moving to a foreign you. You are never here. You're always moving forward. It's as though people are renting the space they're living in and then evicting themselves onto the street. Any wonder people can never feel like they're at home anywhere. Why they feel like they're never setting up roots. Being able to have that liberated feeling of, this is me, this is where I am, this is my home, I'm not moving anywhere. Today's meme, they sell it to you as kind of spiritual growth and living in the moment, but it's not growth, it's just movement. There's no substance in that constant movement towards nothing, towards starting from zero every 5 seconds. Women particularly love spontaneity, love impulsiveness, love holidays, and love change. When you look at it, they're the least capable of commitment that they often espouse, because they can't stand still enough to really enjoy being committed to anything. They want change too much. They're almost fighting between two impulses: constant change and security. I think this is at the heart of most guys' frustration when, a lot of guys might want to commit to a family or a woman or a wife, but anyone with a 3-digit IQ can kind of see, how can I comfortably commit my life sanely and maturely to someone who's so immature that they're playing a tug of war internally within themselves in two opposite directions? I can't count that this person's going to stick around tomorrow, or love me tomorrow, or want to have the child they said they wanted today tomorrow. I would contend, especially today, with the conditioning of social media and the marketed culture to keep consuming daily, hourly, every 5 seconds. How can you commit to this kind of mind? And considering that women are the biggest users of social media, how can any man comfortably and rationally commit to that kind of brain? No, that kind of mind does not know the first thing about commitment. Now, when it comes to commitment, best to commit to yourself, gentlemen. And if you play your cards right, and if you've got a good head on your shoulders, you know that you're not going to go away, at the very least, if you discipline yourself. As long as you can learn to sit still and embrace protracting your own time out and doing something within that you value, not the online soundbite life of 1 million things in one day, but 1 or 2 things in one day, 1 or 2 calm and focused things in one day. You cannot grow in any meaningful way with living in a life of successive 5-second social media feeds. All living things need time to grow, from plants to things with flesh and blood. We keep killing ourselves by living this way, in this transient musical chair kind of existence. We experience life like we're throwing a hot potato around, just passing one moment to the next. We keep coming and going. We keep only visiting time and going on to the next, forever on holiday and never living in one spot, never calling one spot home, always dipping our toe from moment to moment and never jumping in. We've been conditioned to be impulsive, gentlemen, and especially post-red pill, I would say the opposite direction, the stoic contemplative space of protracting time, sitting still, and not being so impulsive with your time and the space in the life that you have is the way to go. Don't buy the hype. Don't buy the marketing. Freedom doesn't mean chasing 1 million things at once, being free and having no responsibility. It means, for me at least, I would suggest, and I would offer, to you to consider that freedom now is to focus on the few important things that you're now free to pursue, and to give large slabs of time to, and find out who you are, develop your ethics, and really live. And you can't do that in small fractions of time that are dominoing into the future, where you can barely calibrate any kind of footing. So I guess I've been thinking recently about time and the nature of people playing musical chairs with it, trying to constantly find themselves and find meaning without actually sitting in their chair for a protracted period of time to find out that it's their chair. And that's what I would suggest. Stay in your chair, play in that position, find out who you are, and stop chasing the grass is greener and chasing moment to moment, putting on different masks and feeling empty. It's no wonder. I mean, if I was always going and never arriving anywhere and never staying anywhere, I would feel the same too. I'd feel anxious. I wouldn't feel secure, because the moments aren't just fleeting. You are within those moments. You're fleeting. You're always disappearing. That's why we don't feel like much at all, because we're barely there. You need to protract your time to feel there, gentlemen. Movement's not progress. Don't buy the hype. Constantly trying out different pens until you find the right one is a great procrastinating way to waste your time. That novel will never get written. Stop chasing a million different fragments of time and calling them
experiences.
You don't become an artist by doing a few sketches. You're not a writer after having done one page or a paragraph. We need to expand our times that we invest into meaningful things to make them meaningful. Stop chasing the high. So, I guess I've been thinking about that. Not just that life moves too fast and people are on social media and sound bites and things are fleeting, but the effect of buying into the quantity and diversity of having a million different things, being fed a million different things in one day, rather than one or two that are meaningful to you, and blocking out that day for those one or two meaningful things, or the week or the year, and in effect your life, and actually feeling rooted in those things because you've given enough time for them. I guess I've been thinking about gaining some control over protracting and expanding your time and the things you focus on, slowing down and feeling less anxious. So anyway, I hope some of that was food for thought. Just a few things that were mulling through my head the last few days. So I hope you got something out of it. If you find these videos useful or entertaining, please support me via the links below, and I'll talk to you soon, guys. Later.